Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today, we've got another Gun Gripe episode for you, and we thought we would take a moment to talk a little bit about the 2020 election results. Now, this is a hotbed of contested results. All right, so we're not going to try to lay any claim to any one side, and we're going to try to...
Like Fox News?
Yeah, like Fox News or like the Associated Press. We're going to try to lay this out in a way that is easy for everybody to understand what's going on. Of course, there's a lot of varying opinions floating around. There's still some contestation going on in terms of, the president has not conceded the election. There's going to be ongoing court battles, and some of these court battles could certainly go as far as the Supreme Court, the way it's looking. There are several states that are kind of in limbo in terms of what the results are going to be, and there's recounts occurring. So there's still a lot of things in the pipeline, and we decided not to make a video super early on. We wanted things to kind of settle down and get a little bit of an idea of which way the course is running on this. So we're going to try to present everything in a way that is hopefully fair and easy to understand. The Associated Press is calling Harris and Biden as the winners of the election. Of course, and there are many of us that are contesting that idea and not agreeing with that idea. And there's definitely a lot of things to look at. There's a lot of court battles that are definitely coming down the pipeline. Some of the court cases in the lower courts have been thrown out, including some of Trump's cases. Now, as I understand, they're calling for a releasing of the Kraken, okay? And Trump's lawyer, she's not a joke, okay? She's a battle axe in all the good ways. And she claims to have a hotbed of evidence that will point towards Trump being the victor. Now, we're not going to specify whether or not he is or isn't. Obviously, we'd like to see President Trump be reelected. And I don't want to, I don't want this to come too much from a point of bias because the media does enough of that. Yeah, They're biased enough as it is.
I'm trying not to be partisan, but
we like who we like. We can't help that.
So, dude, this thing has just been such a mess. Like, election night, I was kind of following things on Daily Wire and some other sites and all, and like, okay, well, this is looking okay right now, right? Okay. And then I'm like, okay, where are all those mail-in ballots? Those mail-in ballots started coming in, and then all this news about fraud, okay, or in these major municipalities and everything like that, a bunch of fake ballots coming in and things like that. There were videos posted of people like burning ballots, which turned out to be false, okay? They were sample ballots is what was proven, but it got a lot of people heated up. And it's just, Eric and I were talking about this earlier, but there's wrongdoing on both sides of the aisle, okay, on the left and the right.
There are.
And there's people that jump to conclusions on both sides of the aisle. We won't say which side of the aisle usually has more people that jump to conclusions, though. But it's just people need to wait and see what really happens with this. If there is a lot of evidence that comes out, and there was a lot of voter fraud, especially with the Dominion ordeal, with the counting of the ballots and vote switching, allegations of vote switching and things like that going on. There's a lot of very interesting things happening right now, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are not technically president and vice president-elect yet, okay? The states have not certified their results, okay? This will be Wednesday when this video is posted. The states have until, I believe, the end of this week, in most cases, to certify their election results. That's why Georgia right now is going through a hand recount, and they're only hand recounting the presidential race, okay? They're not counting anything else.
And they're not verifying signatures or IDs, and that's one hotbed that's definitely being sort of contested here in Georgia. Both the Trump administration and I personally have reached out to Governor Kemp to try to find some reasoning as to why he would sign on with Stacey Abrams saying that, we don't have to verify signatures and check IDs with the ballots and just recount them as they sit. Well, of course the count's going to be as it was, right? If you don't have to verify that those ballots are actually legal and real. And I think the issue at hand here is it's not that there's a lot of people on the right that are saying, we want to recount these ballots, or we want to throw away mail-in ballots because we want to remove that person's ability to be able to have a say in the election. No, that's not the case at all. All the right is trying to say is, hey, we want every legal ballot to be counted, right? If it's a legal ballot And if it's a legit ballot, well, then by all means, absolutely count the ballot. We're not saying throw the ballot out. But if a ballot's not real, if it's a crap ballot that someone filled out in the back of a van with a pen and threw it in the pile just to get an extra vote snuck in here and there, those ballots obviously are not legitimate ballots and they need to be thrown out. Mm-hmm. And I think, obviously there's a lot of dead people voting, which that's always been a thing.
There's a lot of out-of-towners voting, too.
There's a lot of out-of-towners voting. So I've said this in multiple other videos. I'll just quickly reiterate,
Yeah,
Chad,
go ahead.
Is that, you have to have an ID to do so many things in the United States. You really can't even be at large in this country without an ID. Okay? Think about all the things you have to have an ID for. But to not have to have an ID to vote, I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're going to respect the sanctity of our elections, we need to require ID to vote. I mean, okay, to buy a gun, okay, I have to fill out a 4473, submit paperwork to the government, submit a background check, wait on the background check to come out, and then when the government gives me permission, I can buy the gun. Well, all of this for me to exercise my constitutional right, but yet we can have all these random people voting with no purview over ID. Now, some states obviously do require ID, but some don't. And there's a lot of fraud as a result. You've got people voting that don't need to be voting. They should not have a say in our elections if they're not, legally able to have a say in our elections. We can't have people voting that aren't legally able to vote.
Yep.
Or that aren't alive.
Now, so to play devil's advocate, though, there's a lot of fraud that has been uncovered. Okay, some of it is substantiated, some of it is unsubstantiated. Okay, but in the case of, I believe it was Nevada, there were a lot of mail-in ballots sent out to people who used to live in the state. Okay, but they had their mail forwarded to them. Obviously, they moved like to surrounding states, Arizona, California, whatever the case might be. And they were turning in these ballots. But that's sort of few and far between. Okay, it's not hundreds of thousands of people doing that. It's thousands of people doing that. So is it enough in those small circumstances to overturn the results in these battleground states? Likely not. Now, vote switching, if that does become a thing, and there's evidence to prove that votes were switched through a software, update. I read, somewhere that there was a software update on some of these machines the night before the election, which shouldn't have happened. There were some poll workers that were reporting updates coming through, like in the wee hours of the morning, things like that. Is that substantiated? No, not yet. Could it be? Yes, it could be. Everything's still kind of in speculation right now. But
Sidney Powell is the lady I saw. Yeah, that's Trump's lawyer that's handling all that. We'll talk about that in a second.
But it's just, I think people just need to kind of take a back seat to things and just really see what's going on. And if the election is valid, okay, then you have to live with the results. I mean, but
right.
The problem that I have is, all right, leftists, they've been crying for 4 years, okay, and complaining about Russian intervention in the election. Trump did this, Trump did that. Oh, let's impeach Trump. All this mess. Okay, the perjury trial with Michael Flynn and how that turned out to be just nothing. Okay, but the media isn't reporting the facts of the matter that Michael Flynn was exonerated. Okay, the whole perjury trial was just a farce. Okay, and it was based on lies, and it's been proven, but the media doesn't report that. But now the conservatives, okay, the right, we're being told to suck it up. Okay, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be that hypocritical, okay? Just suck it up. No, we're not going to suck it up. We want to make sure that everything was valid, legal, and to the letter of the law, all right? And if it's proven not to be, then there's going to be serious ramifications for it. And with the media, the mainstream media, touting, a Biden-Harris victory, and if something does come down the pipeline and Trump is declared the winner of these states based on fraud, then what you've seen over the summer, all these BLM and Antifa, whatever you want to call it, all these protests that have turned violent, all the destruction in these major cities, okay, businesses boarding up their windows, you're going to see that again tenfold because these leftists, these far leftists, cannot contain themselves when it comes to not getting their way. They want to go down that road to socialism so bad that they're willing to destroy their communities in order to get it. which is just insanity to me.
It's pretty scary too when you consider that, okay, let's just say, for all intents and purposes here, that the Associated Press is correct and that Biden and Harris are the winners of the election. Okay, fine, whatever, be that as it may. Let's say that's true. Well, then why does Antifa need to go to D.C. and beat up on old women and old men that are trying to support Trump?
Young mothers, children.
What's the point of beating up on weaker people than you? You know what I mean? If you won, well then if you won, you won. What are you so angry about? Why are you trying to hurt people? So it's just really
because they don't want you to have an opinion. They want their opinion to be the I guess what's the word I'm looking for? They want their opinion to be kind of the top on the top of the heap, okay?
Yeah.
And then anything else below that, you can't do that. They want to restrict the First Amendment for you.
Their narrative is the end all do all end thing, and if you go against their narrative, you're a deplorable, you know. And AOC making the statements, you know, that she did is pretty appalling as well.
She finally redacted some of those.
Oh, no, they haven't redacted anything. Yeah, they may say, oh, well, we backed off on that idea, but you know they're keeping lists of people. You know they're going to harass people. They're going to blacklist people. It's already happening. There's sort of the saber rattling of that going on that we're seeing. I want to talk about Sidney Powell a little bit. So she's an absolute battle axe. And she claims to have a ton of evidence regarding this whole Dominion fiasco. And that evidence is going to be presented very soon. I think they're still compiling things. And look, I'm just trying to be fair and concise here with what I'm dealing with. All I can report is what I see and what I've been told. And what she's saying on the media and everything and all these different outlets and in interviews is that she has a literal kraken that she's going to be releasing that is going to open up some eyes on a global scale. Now, when I hear global scale, the thing that I think about is Dominion being a global farce, right? So if this Dominion system has been used to possibly tamper in elections abroad, namely Venezuela, possibly Spain, or at least some of the servers are in Spain. So you mean a ballot gets tabulated, sent to Canada, sent to Venezuela, sent to Spain,
I don't think
sent to Germany. It may not be that literal.
Sent to Venezuela.
It may not be that literal, but the thing about it, though, is that it does open up some room for some scrutiny there. And I've seen several screenshots, okay, of these algorithms within Dominion that can flip a ballot from one candidate to the other. And they've found very many instances of this. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this pans out, not only in court, but what Sidney Powell has up her sleeve in terms of her weapons at her disposal. I know right now Nancy Pelosi is absolutely livid because we have gained House seats. Now, is it enough? Who knows? I mean, at this point, it's not enough, but we have seen some situations where both the House and the Senate do vote against party lines on certain issues. So there's obviously this issue right now of the Senate runoff here in Georgia, okay? And people are looking really, really hard at Georgia for that reason, because there's 2 Senate seats up for grabs in Georgia, and it's very imperative for gun rights and for the freedom of our republic that we keep those Senate seats. Even though some Senate seats may vote against or across party lines, that's 2 more Senate seats that we desperately need to have. We need to win those Senate seats, so there's going to be a runoff. And we're going to be making separate videos about this. I'm going to have some guests on my channel, and we're going to elaborate on it a little bit further. And we are going to do a separate video just on the Georgia Senate runoff here soon. Look, I know there's a lot of politics that are coming down the pipeline on our channel, and I hope you understand that this is gun-related, okay? Because the Biden-Harris establishment, they have expressed their willingness and their intention to lay down the most horrible gun legislation that we've seen in our time, in our lifetimes, right? It's going to make the 94 assault weapons ban look like a freaking cakewalk. Basically, imagine that assault weapons ban, but with no sunset.
Remember, Biden,
that's what they want.
Biden was, the main architect of that anyway. So,
right.
The crime bill and such.
They want the crime bill version 2 with no sunset. And they want even worse. They want any magazine or semi-automatic for you to have to pay a $200 tax stamp. Imagine how many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you'd have to spend as a gun owner just to keep your legally owned property that you already own. We're not even talking about what you may go and buy or not buy. So there's a lot of scary saber rattling in terms of the gun world. And I'm very perturbed also that there's a lot of big voices that could be doing a lot more for us, and they're not. They're remaining silent on this issue because they don't want to get involved. They don't want to get political, or they're naive enough to think that it won't affect them, or that, oh, well, you know, presidents and congressmen and the government always talks about gun control and nothing ever happens, so I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and I'm going to keep doing my fun, entertaining videos, and I'm not going to get political because I don't want to scare off the soccer moms. Look, that's fine. But those people are going to reap what they sow in the long run. And they're going to have to look themselves in the mirror one day and go, you know what? I could have made a difference. I could have got our base fired up. I could have made that change. And I didn't because I was too worried about the moolah that comes from it. And I don't have a lot of respect for those people. And I'm very perturbed at their inaction. And that inaction speaks louder than anything else. You know, I know that I take a risk by making these videos all the time. I know people don't like it. There are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle that hate the idea that I don't post meltdowns every week, or I don't post 5 guns videos every week. But guess what? There ain't going to be no freaking meltdown videos or no 5 guns videos if these people have their way.
Yep.
And don't even get me started on big tech and what they're trying to do to us. We've seen it. I had over 100 reloading videos I had to pull off my channel because I was going to get account strike after account strike after account strike, and I was the only person that they went after in that particular regard. I was singled out by big tech and pushed into a corner because of my vocal opposition to these types of things. So don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't make a difference. You can. You look at who is censored the most, and that's the person you probably need to be listening to. Now, I'll get off my soapbox. It is related to this video, and talking about the election results is gun related, because if these people have their way, I'm telling you, it's gonna be bad. They're gonna stack the Supreme Court if they have their way, and oh my gosh, it's terrible. Mr. Guns and Gear had a video about Biden's gun control plan pulled down off YouTube. He received an account strike over it. So they are actively censoring people like us. So it's something to think about.
Yep.
I'm willing to put myself on the line because I know how important it is for us to get involved and for us to make sure that we are staying true to the gun vote. Take that for what you will, but I might ruffle some feathers, but I don't care.
It's an unfortunate thing that, you know, the gun vote even has to be a thing. I mean, because why did guns become such a partisan and polarizing issue? I mean, why? Surely 49 to 50% of the country who identify as liberals or moderates, whatever the case is, they own firearms too, right? So why would they be for a candidate that would take that right away from them? I mean, these people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and others, and like Nancy Pelosi, they would love to see the Second Amendment just wiped from the slate of the Constitution. That's the end goal, is just removing it. They'd like to remove freedom of speech protection as well. There's talk right now going on of legislation to label certain speech as hate speech. So who is going to say what hate speech is? And then what are the consequences going to be if you are guilty of hate speech? I'm sorry, but hate speech is free speech. All right? Bottom line, all speech is free speech. Doesn't matter if you have an opinion about it and you feel a certain way about it, doesn't mean you have to listen to it. Okay? But it doesn't mean that it needs to be against the law either. But when it comes down to guns, all right, you touched on something. You said republic, okay? We live in a constitutional republic. I hear so many times on the media, it's like, oh, we need to protect our democracy. I'm sorry, but we don't need to protect anything. We need to protect our republic. We're not a democracy. We are not run by mob rule. We have an electorate system in place, which also, it's funny. It's funny sometimes because it's happened on both sides. But, you know, if so-and-so's candidate wins the electoral college, but they don't win the popular vote, then, oh, we need to get rid of the electoral college. If the other candidate wins, okay, but they don't win the popular vote, we need to get rid of the electoral college. It happens on both sides, but it happens more on the left, okay?
It's just the fact.
The fact of the matter is that is the way that our electoral system works in this country. It gives everyone a more equal representative, okay, for that electoral vote for the high office in this country. If it wasn't for that, then 51% of the country would control the other 49. All right, and you tell me that 49% of the country wants to live under your policies. Okay, if it's leftist, far leftist ideas, we'd be all living under socialism, communism. Okay, and we'd start looking like Venezuela. I mean, do you want to be out in the street trying to find a cat to eat? No, I don't. Do you want to see the dollar go down the well? Okay, and jobs be cut all across the country? Do you want to see that? I mean, do you want to see the wealthy individuals who run large companies that provide a ton of employment opportunities for folks all across the country? Do you want to see them pack up and leave and go somewhere else? This is the last bastion of freedom in the entire world, no matter what anybody says.
And capitalism.
And capitalism. So if anybody's out there who says, oh, we're not free because look at all this, look at this, 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 and this. We are the most free country. People do not flock here to escape the policies of the government in their country because they want to come someplace worse. They escape because they want to come someplace better. So why are we not flocking to Venezuela? I mean, hey, I think I'm just going to pack and go to Venezuela because, I like socialism. I like communism. I like eating cats. Come on, let's go. No.
Democracy, by definition, is two wolves deciding which sheep to have for dinner. I mean, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scary things. Look at Biden's tax policy. So he's removing all of Trump's tax breaks that benefit the lower and middle class. All right, and he's implementing, if you make over $400,000 in profit a year, you're going to have to pay 62% in federal income taxes. All right, now...
Well, not just profit, just if you make $400,000.
Right.
So if you make $395,000, you're good. But, once you make that other $6,000 and you're over that threshold, or $5,000 and you're over that threshold, then, 62%
It's a
of your
clear
income's going
distinction, Chad, that the over 400, you have to net over 400K, not gross.
Not gross, huh?
Gross is not profit. Net is profit. If you profit over 400 grand, you have to give them 62% of your income.
That sounds more like corporate tax.
All right, well, listen. So here's the thing. All right, so a criminal robs me at gunpoint, opens up my wallet. All right, let's just round that 62% down to 60%. Let's just make it an even round number, okay? So say that a man robs me at gunpoint.
Easy math for simpletons like
and
this.
I have 10 $100 bills in my pocket, okay? And he takes $60, takes 6 of those $10 bills and leaves me with 40. Well, I left you with 40. Or did you not steal the 60? You still stole the 60, right? I just don't understand how when you look at, and I hate to say left and right, but let's just call it what it is, right? I hate how people that support the left, and we're talking like a lot of big companies support the left. Big tech, right? The Amazon types, the Walmart types, all the huge companies, right, support the left and their humongous taxes that they want to impose on people. And I just don't understand it. Like, if you ran some company that makes millions and millions and millions of dollars, why in a million years would you want to pay more taxes? I don't understand that. I don't know if it's my Neanderthal brain can't get it, but you get taxed more and then they want to infringe on your rights, take your Second Amendment rights away. Then you look at what's going on with big tech, right? Silicon Valley and censorship. So 1A's out the door, 2A's out the door. I mean, what next? All the other rights that we have are going to fall right behind it.
Yep.
Because there's a reason that they're going after that grocery list, right? We've always discussed our rights as being a grocery list of rights. Okay, well, if the First and Second Amendment are so important because they're near the top of the list, well, if they can remove your ability to be a dissenting voice towards their narrative, if they can remove your ability to defend your right to be a dissenting voice if you disagree, well, then everything else will just fall like a stack of dominoes. And they know that, and that's what's so scary about all of this. And I think that the big way to look at this, right, and the reason we keep saying gun vote is why in the world, no matter what side of the political aisle you reside on, right, I think we can all agree that we should be able to protect ourselves and our communities and each other. And look, if you're a Democrat that owns a gun, I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to own a gun. If somebody waved a magic wand overnight and said, Eric, you know what, we're going to let you be in charge of the country for a week and you can do anything you want for a week. You could be king for a week if you wanted to. That's not how it works. But if it were, do you think for 1 second that I would use my power and wave my magic wand to disarm people that just simply because they disagree with me politically? No, that's not how this works. Look at Reconstruction after the Civil War. All right, a very, very good example. Okay, the federal government could have, if they wanted to, could have disarmed the South. Okay, they could have took all the guns away from everyone who lived in the South. You know what Lincoln did? He didn't do that because he wanted to heal the wounds of the Civil War. He wanted us to move on as a country. He did not disarm the citizens. Even though he could have, he didn't, because he saw greater potential in us being able to provide for our families. There was still a lot of hunting. I mean, gosh, people were still living off the land in the South back then. I mean, our infrastructure was absolutely destroyed. Many houses burned down, communities destroyed, families separated. We needed all the help we could get to get ourselves back on our feet. And Lincoln saw that we needed to protect ourselves and that we should not be disarmed, right? And that took a lot of courage on his part. He gave his life, in part, for that type of policy during Reconstruction by letting the South keep their guns. They could have been tyrants, but they weren't, because they saw the benefit of a republic, right? Of what we were really trying to accomplish as a country. And he wanted to heal those wounds and for people to move forward. And I think that's the importance to think about, right? Is that there's people on all sides of the political aisle that own guns. And this election is totally a gun election, right? Because if we lose these Senate seats, and if Biden and Harris end up winning, which unfortunately, according to the Associated Press, if you believe anything they say, that's looking like the case. Now, of course, we're not going to call it until the fat lady sings when we start looking at all these court cases that are coming about. But this has the potential to be a literal turning of the tides for gun rights. So it's very important. It affects both sides of the political aisle. Do you think for one second that they're going to say, oh, well, you're a Democrat, you voted Democrat, well, guess what? We're not going to take your guns. You don't have to register your AR. No big deal, right? You don't have to register that 30-round magazine. Do you think they're going to do that? Just because they're going to look on some ticket and say, oh, you voted for Biden. Well, guess what? Since you helped put us here, we're not going to make you subject to these laws. No. They're going to be the laws of the land, and they're going to throw you in jail just like anybody else.
Instead of Star of David, it'll just be a red dot, you know? Are they going to mark you? Mark your business? That sort of thing, like the Nazis did? I mean, so my issue, it comes down to one of, blatant hypocrisy. Because you see far leftists, okay, with these defund the police movements and such that started, over the summer and everything like that, spring and summer, and have, in a lot of places, backfired, okay? You look at some of the stuff that happened, I believe, in Michigan. City council voted, unanimously pretty much to just disband the police and such, cut their funding, all this. It's backfired on them. Now they're redacting some of their statements. They're walking back on, we didn't really mean it. So that kind of crap's going on all over the place. But you have people that support, okay, citizens that support this sort of agenda, okay? So they want to defund the police. And they may live in a municipality that has a high crime rate, okay? Say someplace like Chicago. So you support policies to fund the police. All right, so if you pick up the phone and call 911, you expect someone to come with a gun to your home to protect you in the case of some sort of crime, okay, occurring that you would need to call 911 for. So how can you say that you support someone who wants to take your firearms away from you if you own a gun, okay, for self-protection? That those two don't go together. You can't, like I said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't have your gun and then want to, support people that defund the police and want to take your guns away and then expect protection, okay, by the government. The government isn't there to protect you, okay, as an individual citizen. You have the duty to defend yourself, defend your family, defend your community as a whole. We've said this time and time again. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but the blatant hypocrisy is there, and it only takes a little bit of common sense and some reading and research to be able to expose it and see it for really what it is. But you can't do that. You can't say, I want to defund the police. I want to cut back all these police departments and stuff to the minimum amount. I want to take guns away from the police. We want to have intervention teams that come out and deal with violent crime or domestic abuse or drugs or this, that, and the other thing. You can't have that, okay? If someone, like we've seen in many cases over the summer, the media will spin these stories, okay, of police shootings and such, and they'll spin them to fit the narrative of systemic racism in America, systemic racism in the police force, okay? So they don't show you the stories where a black cop shoots a black guy, or a black cop shoots a Hispanic that's threatening his life or some other officer's life
Or a white dude.
or someone's life. The most recent story I saw was a crazed dude with a knife coming at a cop. What are you supposed to do as an officer if you've got this deranged individual coming at you with a knife?
All right, there's a tiny little thing that you might be leaving out here.
Oh, there's probably a few things I'm
gonna play devil's advocate
Go ahead.
just a moment. Okay, so all this talks about defending the police, and I didn't really want this video to get in the fame, but I feel like it is.
We always go down these rabbit holes.
It is related
because it is
related to this election.
Absolutely.
So this whole defund the police idea, they don't want to really defund the police. They want to replace the police. There's a clear distinction. There's a clear difference. They want their version of the Red Guard. So they don't want to completely do away with the police. They want to be the police. They want to have their own institutions that are politically driven institutions to enforce laws in the way that they see fit.
Oh, like the brown shirts coming to enforce
No,
hate
like
speech
the Red
laws?
Guard.
The Red Guard, okay.
Yeah, so the whole idea being that in that type of an idea, they would then politically enforce laws in accordance to politics and not the rule of law or not.
Yes.
So they want to be able to specifically target people that are dissenting voices. The only way they know they can do that is by basically undermining the First Amendment, censoring people, right? So the whole idea behind this censorship is they want to be able to silence your voice so that you can't be a dissenting voice at all. And then if you are, all right, if you don't have the Second Amendment, nobody has guns, and only the Red Guard has the guns, right? Well, then what are you going to do? You can't fight against them. You can't do anything to protect yourself against them. So then they start, bending over your neighbors and your colleagues and, oh, you know this person? So see, the way the Red Guard would work, it wouldn't simply just be, okay, well, this person committed a crime, now we're going to go after them. It would permeate the whole existence of your circle of people, right? That's how they work. That's how the socialists and communists and all the people on the far left, they can't simply just say, oh, you did this, right? They're going to go to everyone you know. They're going to blacklist you. They're going to professionally blacklist you. They're going to censor you. They're going to make your life literally a living hell. And they're going to do it to everyone you know. So then the people you know will be like, oh, then they're going to start turning against you. So they don't want to simply arrest you or put you away or send you, well, I'm sure they'd like to send you to some gulag or whatever, but they don't simply want to do that. They want what you are and your dissenting voice to negatively affect everyone you know, so that then they go, oh, well, people like that, we can't associate with them because this is what happens, right? Yep. So it's literally an entire social, economical circle that they want to draw around you that ruins your life, all right? And the reason I know this is true, and the reason I know this is what they're trying to do, is because China now has a social credit system. Now, we've already talked about this a bit in previous videos, but I'll talk about it briefly here. And the idea of a social credit system is the more things you do to piss off the government, so to speak, and let's just say in this case, Biden and Harris have their way, and they've got a complete control of the ship, and they've got the backing of social tech companies, they've got the backing of Silicon Valley, and of course all of the algorithmic destruction that Google is capable of, not to mention the spying capabilities and data collection capabilities. They take those capabilities and they convert it into a social credit score that you don't even know about, that you don't know exists, and you have a number associated with your name and your family's name, and based on that number, it affects your ability to take advantage of goods, services, your ability to buy a vehicle, your ability to go on a train, your ability to get on an airplane and fly somewhere, your ability to travel. Oh, well then if it gets bad enough, your ability to go to the grocery store and buy food, what you can buy, what you can't buy, who you can be around, who you can't be around. All these things. They could literally use that data and their clear disregard for the First and Second Amendment and all of our rights as a whole. They could just kind of abolish that idea and go, all right, we're taking away your name and we're giving you a number. And the higher the number is, the more in our graces you are. And the lower it is, it's going to be like the caste system. And you're just all the way at the bottom of the pyramid. And you're going to stay there because you're a dissenting voice. And we're going to starve you out.
Yep. So a couple of books you guys need
Sorry.
to read. If you
I'll get my tinfoil hat off now.
No.
But it's true.
Where are our tinfoil hats anyways? We might need to break those out.
We need to make more. I think we threw them away.
I need to make like a... what do they call it? A Faraday cage hat. That'd probably work better. So a couple of books. All right, always read George Orwell's 1984. Okay, so sort of a hairbringer of current events and things like that. Kind of the scare that's going on right now.
Aldous Huxley's Brave New World.
Yep, Brave New World
is a good one.
Also, one as far as like industry is concerned and government intervention. Atlas Shrugged. Okay, it's an old novel by Ayn Rand. It's always a classic read, and it always gets the leftists, really fired up because they hate it. I mean, it really is. It opens your mind to the government intervention in the economy, and the government control of the economy and what it really means to the U.S. as a whole. Okay. I mean, like I've said in previous parts of the video and other videos, like look at Venezuela, look at the collapse of the country, look at other socialist and communist countries that have collapsed under their own weight, okay, under their own policies. It is not a system that works, but people continue to push for it and try for it because they think that they can get a large portion of the young electorate on board with things like $15 minimum wage. Okay, $15 minimum wage. I'm going to hit on this real quick, and then I'm going to be done, and I'll let you guys go. But there's so many things just that come to mind that really need to be put out there. And most of the folks watching this video, you guys probably know what I'm coming at or where I'm coming from. But $15 minimum wage. Okay, we need a living wage. All right. Well, is a $15 wage in Georgia going to be better than a $15 living wage in California? Well, no, because California, the cost of living is so much higher than Georgia, right? Or you go to Kentucky where the cost of living is dirt cheap, right? Or like Wyoming or someplace, all right? So it's not going to be really equal across the board. And plus, all right, if company, all right, say McDonald's, all right? McDonald's has to pay people $15 an hour, okay, to work there. All right, so next time you go and get fast food, the prices are going to be higher. Or you're not going to see people working in there. They're going to replace those people with machines that can do the job for them. So these large companies, they're going to find a way, okay, to get around that. And if it's
they're going to work you 20 hours a week.
Yeah. So they'll work you less. They'll subsidize it somehow. But in the end, the consumer is always going to pay for those increased prices. Corporate taxes go up, okay? Taxes go up on large corporations or the company you work for, whatever the case might be. Guess what? You're going to see the cost of those goods increase, okay? Just like tariffs, all right? The tariffs that Trump put on Chinese goods. Well, I saw it like Little Machine Shop is a place I do business with a good bit. Buy machine parts and things like that, tools and whatnot from them. And some of their machines that come from overseas, I think it was the middle of November here where the tariffs are really going to take effect with their next shipment, and the prices are going up like 20%. Okay, because they are covering the cost of those tariffs and they're passing it on to the consumer. So they're not eating those costs. You will be. All right, so you're going to pay higher costs at the grocery store. You're going to pay higher taxes. You're going to pay higher registration fees for your vehicle and stuff like that. All those costs are going to be passed down to you, and then your wages are going to be cut because you're going to be paying more taxes, and you're going to have a lower quality of life overall. And then it's just downhill from there. It sounds great on paper, but when you start really digging into it and seeing the long-term ramifications of that, okay? And look, something else like retirement funds. All right, you have a pension. All right, under socialist regimes, the government has seized private pension funds in the past. Yeah. They have seized billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Veterans, disability compensation benefits, out the door. All of those types of things, those are going to be the first thing on the chopping block is any of those types of benefits. A couple of other works to add to your list. Lord of the Flies.
Oh yeah,
is a good read. Older book, but good book. Kind of tells you about the dangers.
I saw Clockwork
and then also
Orange.
Clockwork Orange.
I saw it on one of the streaming sources.
And then also, I love Stanley Kubrick. Don't get me started on Kubrick. I love he's my favorite.
No, we're not going to do that.
And then also, V for Vendetta. That's a really good synopsis of how dangerous this can be, like the control of information. Just the way I love Hugo Weaving, by the way. He's one of my favorites. Hugo, if you're watching, we love you, man. You're awesome. You're awesome, Mr. Smith. Okay. Anyway, but those are a couple of works to look at. Guys, don't let all this get you down.
Yeah.
All right. At the end of the day, we have to really also remember that your life is yours to live, and no one controls that but you. You are ultimately in control of your destiny, and your ability to be free hinges upon your willingness to be free. And freedom is definitely something that can be taken a lot of different ways, and it can go a lot of different ways, and it means different things to different people. and nothing can ever take that away.
It also has to be worked for. I mean,
it does have to be worked for, and we have to work hard, right? Don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't live your life the way you want. You're an American, and no matter what happens, right? Look, if Biden and Harris are in fact elected, well then, okay, it is what it is. That die is cast, and we have to deal with it, right? But you know what? We don't cry and complain. We get results. We do what we need to do because that's what strong, hard-working, strong-willed Americans do. We take every sucker punch and we roll off and we move forward, right? I hope that Trump and his lawyer can present evidence that will allow, at least a fair shake to occur, right? If, in fact, some horrible thing has been perpetuated against him, I hope that it's corrected and comes to light, and that he sees the justice that he deserves. We have been critical of Trump. All right, we have been critical of Trump, but I do think that the man loves his country, and I do think he's a patriot. And you can tell every time that he's talking and the things that he does care about this country. And I've always maintained that aspect about him. Now, there's certain things on the 2A world I'm definitely not happy about, and there are ramifications, inklings, dare I say, of what he has done that will haunt us for generations.
Yep.
By using executive fiat to ban a device, an accessory, right? The future administrations, if it is a Biden-Harris administration, they're going to use the power of that pen readily and with reckless abandon. They're going to sign every executive order they possibly can to ban any and all of the things that you love the most in the gun world. You can guarantee that. So, look, guys, keep our eyes on the prize. We need to keep our eyes on this Georgia Senate runoff race and keep our eyes on these court battles and do what we can to support Donald Trump. I strongly believe that Donald Trump has a chance to still win the election. But if Biden and Harris are elected, then it is what it is. We aren't going to fold and give up. We're going to keep fighting. If anything, we're going to fight even harder as a result. So don't let it get you down. Live your life. Be happy. Be free. Live free. And it's all going to be okay. Right? We're Americans, okay? We don't back down from freaking anything. Just remember that.
Well, if Biden and Harris are certified, by the states and everything, and I thought maybe I'd just go out in the middle of the street and cry and then put it on social media and just become a meme, and live in infamy. What do you think?
I think that you do fit the meme criteria quite well. Yeah, you do. You've got
Did you practice that a little bit?
Yeah. You do.
No!
Yeah.
No! No, we don't act like that.
We ain't doing that. Okay. You're going to have to make up your own meme because we're not going to be your meme for you. But look, guys, it's going to be okay. All right. And I know we tick a lot of people off when we make videos like this, but I hope you understand we're trying to be fair. We're trying our best to look at both sides of the aisle as fairly as we can. Obviously, we do, side with one side a little more than the other, but we're trying to be fair, right? We care very much about every legal vote being counted. So we're going to see how this shakes out. Yeah. We might make a follow-up to this. So we'll see. But
we'll see what happens. But the thing is, if there is a crime that was committed, okay, with this election, it's not just a crime against the president and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and all the people running. It is a crime against the American people.
Yeah.
All right. And you want to talk about foreign interference?
Yeah.
I mean, we could talk about that if this all comes to light and winds up being, substantiated, which will be interesting to see over the next few weeks.
I want every vote counted, Democrat or Republican. I'm not suggesting that I hope only my side's counted. No. If you voted and it's a legal vote, I want your vote counted.
Yep.
Because I believe that's a cornerstone of our republic is having a say, right? So we don't want ballots to be thrown out that are legal ballots. I mean, I side with Rudy Giuliani. I want every legal vote counted. So we'll see how this all pans out.
Yep.
Guys, thank you so much for watching today. If you love our videos and you wish to support us, there's a lot of ways that you can do so. Go over to Ballistic Ink, pick yourself up a snazzy t-shirt. that we would appreciate that very much. Also, we've got our Microtech pre-sale going on right now. Do not forget to go pick up your Microtech. It's a custom color that we're offering in that. You guys are going to love it. And you've got to get one of those knives before they're gone. I'm going to be turning in the orders here in a couple of weeks. Be sure to go get your Microtech. They're only going to be available this one time, and they're all uniquely serial numbers. So get yourself a piece of cutlery if you wish. Ding. Go over and pick yourself up a man can. Shameless plug. Mm-hmm. Shameless plug. Guys, have a great day. Thank you for supporting us. We'll see you soon. Many more videos on the way.
See you guys.